Good evening, everyone. And today, Akshit, will be your host to the talk where, we have a panel consisting of Mr. Deepak Joshi and Shivam Kumar. Mr. Joshi has been in the field of finance for over 14 years across investment banking, fintech, and corporate strategy. Formerly, he has also worked at UBS and Nomura. He has managed multi-billion dollar portfolios and now is the director of strategy and market intelligence at Signify. Along with that, we have Shivam Kumar, who is a BITS alumnus and has done his MBA from IIM Bangalore and has been on the director's merit list and is currently at British Investment International Investment, where he focuses on emerging market investing and long-term impact. So, to start us off, I just want to ask one major question to both our panelists here. When you were at BITS, did you ever imagine that you would end up in the field of finance?
For me, first of all, hello everyone. For me, I think I got that realization late into my engineering journey. Probably, I would say at the end of third year or so that I probably would being a engineer full time probably was not a cup of tea for me. So I think that's where, yeah, this whole thing journey started for me, I would say.
Yeah, hi everyone. I think always great to speak to BIT students. And for me, it was a slightly different path. So at BITS, I wanted to do chemical engineering, and I did my thesis actually. I converted my PS to TS, and I did my research internship at NUS Singapore. And there I got the clarity no, I cannot do chemical engineering for life. So earlier, my plan was to do a PhD in that, but luckily I had done my minors in finance. So after I came back from NUS, I joined a supply chain firm for a couple of years. Then I decided to go for an MBA, and it was actually in my MBA that I sort of got this realization that okay, I should try finance, and yeah, so that has been my journey.
Deepak sir, it would also be very helpful if you would describe your journey across the years.
Yeah, so obviously I started out 20 years ago. I mean, it's unbelievable that time flies so quickly, right? I was at the Goa campus. And as I said, I think pretty in the later stages of my journey, I kind of realized that I wanted to build my career in finance. Actually, it's interesting that back then in Goa, I don't know if that's the case in Pilani now, but used to have a elective in second year in accounting, in financial accounting, and that's probably where the first time I kind of like, you know, got really the understanding of, oh, okay, this is something which could be interesting. So in a way, bits played an interesting role in starting this journey of my own. Yeah, right after that, after my MBA from IIM Bangalore, I moved into finance. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, so my MBA was in a way just validating some of the things which I thought I was good at, and I wanted to do my internship in during my MBA also helped me validate that. Then obviously from there on, I built my foundation with a lot of these professional certifications like CFA or CMT, and also I did the masters in executive masters in fintech actually earlier this decade. Because it's all about learning the trade, like the MBAs and all these things. They prepare it for you, but yeah, the jobs demands a whole set of skills which you have to slowly and gradually build up. And then obviously during this journey of 14 plus years now, I've been working. I worked in four countries, across global banks. Also worked in a fintech startup, and then decided 3 years ago to move into the field of this corporate financial strategy, which I'm doing now. It's kind of a role where we focus a lot on filtering through a lot of the information out there impacting the businesses, which links to financial markets, macro geopolitical environment, technology transition, and also which basically bring it all together to help take concrete business decisions. So in a way it feels like a good blend of everything which I've learned through this period, bring it all together and help in create real impact to the business. So that's how it has evolved.
Now that you both of you mentioned, like, you had your first exposure to the market and you just knew that you have to do that. So, like, what was that turning point for you? Like, was it an internship, or was it just the CFA that you did, or like something other that I'm not able to mention here?
Shivam, why don't you take it first, and then I'll.
Yeah, sure. So I think in my case, um, I would say my MBA journey, at the start of my MBA journey, I was not very, I did not have the clarity that okay, I want to really do finance. So I was considering between consulting and finance, because generally, if you are very unsure, you tend to go ahead with consulting, and then you decide, okay, after 3 years, after in consulting, when you spend 3 years, 2 years in consulting, and then you decide, okay, I want to do whatever. But luckily, because of my logistics experience and some bits of finance, which I had done through my coursework at BITS, I got a few internship opportunities, a shortlist, and that is when I sort of decided, okay, let's give it a try. And during my internship, I think that is when I got the clarity that okay, this is an interesting field and it actually matches my personality. So I really want to build my career in this. So yeah, so for me that turning point was my summer internship at my during my IM days.
Okay, that is very
Yeah, I
good to
mean,
hear. And Deepak, what are your thoughts about it?
yeah, I mean, I would say I have a similar sort of a, I would say from a turning point perspective, yeah, the internship sort of validated pretty much what I wanted to do as well. So obviously, we should talk about within the field of finance. There is like so many things you can do. There's a whole gamut of opportunities and roles which you would can potentially end up doing, but within that, specifically that I wanted to be in financial markets, and that too on the public side, and being on the trading floor was something which got validated when I was doing my internship. So I, in a way, yeah, that happened there. But yeah, in terms of my interest, as I said, like I already started getting curious since the stages of my engineering as well. I already was starting to explore, okay, what are some of the things which I like, what can be the areas, because also it was a stepping stone into why I wanted to do the MBA and what can I learn there, and all those things basically. And then when I was there during my MBA, I was, yeah, very focused in terms of, yeah, what courses I wanted to do. There was no like, oh, let me do this, let me do that. It was very, very straightforward for me. So that way, yeah, having that clarity helped. But at the same time, it was an MBA. It was not like a degree in finance, so you still had to do all kinds of courses which are useful.
Yeah. I think
Um,
that's one of the biggest barriers that, like, engineers nowadays would face, because like everyone's running behind like certifications and skills. So like I would just want to ask, was there any like, big barrier, a wall that you had to cross when you were actually starting out with your finance journey? Let's say you did MBA in IM Bangalore. So like you had done accounting before, but you were by core an engineer. So were there any, stuff like there was a skill gap or some networking problems, just credibility or just self-doubt over yourself?
yeah, sure. Shivam, you want to take this first, or?
Yeah, sure, maybe I can start. So for me, I think not having the clarity, I mean, when I was doing an MBA, that was, I think, the biggest hurdle for me, because nowadays people come with a lot of finance experience. There's a lot of CAs in your batch, and I mean, if you have a lot of finance stuff, automatically you'll be preferred by recruiters. So I did not have all of that, and on top of that, I did not have the clarity, as I mentioned, that okay, I want to do finance only, and I was coming from a supply chain background. So I think for me that was sort of the biggest barrier. But luckily that internship happened because of logistics industry experience in my CV, and then things started to flow. So yes, not having that clarity was, I think, my biggest barrier.
No, definitely well said there. I would take it in two ways, right? Like what I went through, and what could be relevant in the current times, right? So when, and obviously when back in those days, I'm talking about just immediately after the financial crisis of 2008 or 9, whatever you call it.
2008.
Yeah, the credit crisis basically. The job market was a bit soft, right? And especially even after yeah, graduating out of bits, the sort of roles I was getting, and I did try to obviously think, okay, my primary ambition was to do an MBA, but let's say what if I don't get the school I want, right? So then obviously there was you could get into analytical roles, there are a lot of analytical companies or data consulting related jobs if you wanted to set a pathway. Back then, algorithmic trading and stuff was not like the core. It was there, it was around, but not like the mainstream. So if you were, let's say, a computer science or electronics or whatever, you had some good background in coding, you could probably do something in this field, but you would probably not be hired just for that. Situation is a bit different now. Like, I mean, with the technology and the way it is, I think, yeah, algorithmic trading has probably taken over a lot of things which usually were done sort of by individuals, right? And now with artificial intelligence is even more sort of the trend is even more moving towards it. So things are different. I mean, if you don't have a genuine interest in the field, especially in the field of public financial markets, then yeah, I don't think it's a barrier anymore. It used to be probably a barrier. If you want to work in these big bulge bracket banks, you need to have an MBA from a very good school in India. They would not even hire you, basically. But that is very different now. Like, I think things have changed that way.
Yes, absolutely. So moving on to the next slide, my next question was directed at Shivam, and then we'll move on to Deepak. So Shivam, I just wanted to know, like, how in your current job role, how is a day in your life? Is it stressful, or like is it a chill vibe, or is it just going with the flow?
And I think so. Basically, if I have to sort of, so in my current role, basically, I have to invest in startups and across Asian geography because I'm based in India. So I look at Indian, South Asian, Southeast Asian economies, and I cover the banks and NBFC space. So basically, my role is to invest in these companies, right? So I would like to divide my year into sort of three phases. First is the strategy and sort of so basically, suppose if you are given a mandate to, okay, you need to invest 100 million in say four startups across the year. So first 3-4 months you need to just identify those four names you want to work with. So and then the second phase is doing the analysis, and then there's a whole lot of internal process you have to go through. And then the final half is about executing those four deals, right? So
Hmm.
in the first 3-4 months, you need to speak to a lot of founders. Need to I mean, you need to be convinced as well. And this, I mean, in this one, you need to make very quick decisions. That, okay, because you are meeting hundreds of names and people are keen to raise money, right? So you're meeting a lot of folks, and then you need to very quickly decide, okay, this does not suit what I want to invest in, right? So first 3-4 months quick decision making. Second is a lot more Excel based analysis, and I mean, lots of reading is involved. Of course, reading is involved throughout the year, but I mean, in this analytical analysis phase, there's a it's a different ball game. So it involves a lot of Excel valuation, all those fancy stuff you hear about. And then finally comes the documentation part, where you have, okay, finally decide, okay, you want to invest in this company. Then how do you sort of close it? So yeah, different, I mean, different parts of the year they have different sort of uh, the days are quite different across the year.
Okay. And that's very good to hear. That seems like a very interesting life because I myself am interested into finance also. And Mr. Deepak, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so for the people who might not know, I live in Amsterdam. So my day usually starts with, or my let's say my work day usually starts with a 20-minute bike ride from my home to my office, which I basically use to listen to some news podcasts, basically just to see, okay, what happened overnight. Use that time to yeah, get started. In my role, as I've explained, yeah, we try to bring in a lot of information happening out in the external world. uh, yeah, really filtering through the noise, and these days it's quite interesting with everything happening around the tariff situation, the geopolitical tensions, the overcapacity in the factories in China. There's a lot of interesting things which are happening, which we need to then factor on. Okay, how is this evolving? How does it impact our businesses in different parts of the world? And yeah, so I spend a lot of my time really filtering through all this information into concrete impact on the businesses, right? Like, okay, what can they expect in terms of, yeah, revenue performances, or profitability, and how can they adapt? And that's what my day to day sort of role goes into. So a lot of really interaction with the stakeholders in the business to really make them understand, okay, how can you sort of deal with these things, which segments to invest money or resources in, right? Where can you expect some slowdown, all those sort of scenarios, basically. And again, for people who don't know, I work for a lighting company. So yeah, lighting is everywhere. We are global. Yeah, and it's not something which is very siloed. So yeah, it impacts everybody in the world, and that way. So yeah, it's really interesting that whatever we make, whatever we do, really has an impact on everyone's life, and that I'm very proud of. And also, yeah, you can see the, yeah, as I said, you can see the impact on the environment as well, with energy emissions, which reduction we contribute to. So it's all in all, very proud of doing what I do on day to day basis. Very smart people in my team as well. We have 10 people in my team, and we are like, what, 9 nationalities. So really interesting interactions on the lunch table as well, which I really like. Just sharing, yeah, our ideas, and also talking about sports. Especially living in Europe, football is quite popular. And being a United fan, finally I'm able to sleep through some well, in the last couple of months. So yeah, it's interesting. Combination of work, yeah, interactions about family, sports. Yeah, it's fun.
So that's very good to hear. Like basically that also seemed like a very interesting life. So my next question, which I've seen from a lot of students around here, is how do you actually get three skills which can help you get a professional, which a professional finance analyst should have, like in your specific roles themselves? What are the three skills which you have noticed that you should be having to get into the field of finance?
Deepak, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the what sort of work you want to do. The field is very broad, but I would, let's say, just I would like to highlight three key things, right? Like, which I believe everyone should have. One being, obviously, attention to detail is very key. You really need to be quite detail oriented. Like, as Shivam also was explaining earlier, a lot of our time goes into analyzing information, filtering through the noise. So you need to understand, what's important, what's not important. Yeah, and really, yeah, able to connect to the big picture. So I think that way, that's really key. A second thing I always used to say, I always tell to people in the industry, is also get relevant skills for the work you do, in technical skills, I mean, right? So for example, if you work on a trading floor, there is a different set of skills needed than, let's say, you work in a private equity or impact investing or M&A. And then, yeah, so it's very important to be really good at what you're doing. If you have to use this technical lingo, like, you can't wing it, like, in a way. That's how, at least, I have perceived it. Some people can, but I think it's important to be good at what you do, technically, to build a strong foundation in, yeah, what you're doing or what you want to work in. So that's about technical skill. And the third thing I would say is, be good at communicating, right? Really, really make sure that whatever you're trying to, you speak your mind out in a way where everyone can understand. And it can be through good presentations, or even just good orator. Just when you are in a setting, can you influence somebody with your thoughts, and are you clear in your communication? I think that's really, really key. Yeah, that those are, I think, three things I would say are important.
And Shivam, what are your thoughts about these three skills that a student should
Yeah,
be
I
having?
think of course there are certain bespoke skill sets required for what jobs you want to do, but certain soft skills which I would highlight is maybe you need to have first principles thinking. So you need to be someone who can think from first principles. Second is, I think you need to have some opinions. Just knowing the facts is not important, because you need to be able to form opinions about things that you are reading, and you need to read a lot. And third is, you cannot just stop at first order thing. You need to go a layer deep into that. So maybe second order, third order thinking is something which you need to develop. Basically, read between the lines. So yeah.
Okay. So basically, like first principle thinking and how basically you can wrap your mind around it, basically a global perspective on how we think about the world, looking
Yeah,
at all the factors added together.
yeah. I would like to add a small thing on the point which you make. Very important is a lot of the people look at one data point and make an assumption that this is what it is. Like, that's a mistake a lot of people do, even in senior leadership in companies. And I think it's very important you understand not to do like to it, you have to practice this, to be frank. It's not something which is natural for everyone. So yeah, I think it's a very valid point. You really agree on that.
Okay. So right now I'm in like in my first year of college, and basically for me choosing a field inside finance is very tough. So like there are so many subjects to study or even just getting into the field of finance. So if we break it down into the fundamentals, what subjects should I be aiming to study in my second year or whenever I get the time to get into this field of finance, let's say an investment banking or private equity or even like let's say market analysts. He like picking specific markets in which I can invest money into.
Shubham, you want to take that one first, or
I think that's a
I
very
think this
difficult
is a
question. That's a difficult one. But I
yeah.
think, I mean, if you do not have any starting point, then I mean, it's good to sort of explore everything and then decide what you want to do, and you'll get ideas from what are you actually liking. For example, I did not have the clarity at bits, although I did a lot of finance courses. I did finance minor, but when I was starting my MBA, I was inclined more towards say valuations, right? So I got that clarity that okay, if I'm liking this subject, then probably I should try investing, right? So maybe at in second year I would suggest to try to explore bit of everything, and then maybe in third year or fourth year you can take a call based on that. But honestly, I think Deepak is well placed to answer this question.
yeah, no, I guess let me take it into yeah. Let me take a step back, right? Obviously, it all starts with foundations, right? Really, really starts with understanding the world. The world of finance is just it's all about moving money efficiently, right? I look at the whole sector. It's a resource allocator. There is only enough money in the world to help, and everyone is chasing it. So banks and all these different institutions like this private equity or impact investing fund, they are all the gatekeepers of this money, and this money is eventually going to field into different places in different companies or different, and that's what drives the world economy, right? And you need to understand, how why would somebody give you the money, right? Or why would this company should be I should be investing in? All these questions are linked to how the business performs. So it's all the foundation is all about how a business functions, right? How is this company making money? Is this long term sustainable, or are they selling dreams and then is they are going to wimp out in the next 5 years? All these questions, and financial statements and financial analysis just a way to understand this, basically. So it's very important to think in those terms, and I think it's important to obviously have the basics of, yeah, reading the financial statements, and how I would like what I used to do when I started doing this back in 2008 9. I always used to take the newspaper, and read it, and then see how much of it actually I get it, because there are a lot of jargons and lingos and everything involved when you're reading these things. And then, yeah, it's all about like, okay, what is exactly this, why are they talking about these ratios, or what is this profitability metric, these are the sort of things which made me curious to learn about these things as well. And I'm still really talking about somebody who doesn't know these things or passionate about all this stuff as well. And then, yeah, and then obviously, as I mentioned already before, like, if you want, once you figured out like how you want to work your day to day look like, right? Like, for example, the day which the sort of work Shivam does, I think it involves a lot of work. Probably, I'm not sure, Shivam, like, you can correct me wrong, but it can be, you can be working long hours, analyzing a company, analyzing a transaction. Probably on the weekends also you have to jot out some analysis. Whereas when I was in financial markets don't function on the weekends. They only work 5 days a week. I used to be in the office 11 to 12 hours on those days in 5 days a week, but my day would go like I would not know how it went. Right? It was just like a zip through, because there's so much happening around you. Everything was, yeah, you're doing all these sort of analyzing all the information, markets are moving, you need to take quick decisions. It's not like, oh, okay, I can think through this thing for ages basically. So sometimes you have to take really fast decisions, and it's a very pressure cooker sort of environment in that way. So it depends on what you like, right? For me, that worked. Well, some people, they are okay with not doing all that day-to-day trading, market volatility stuff. I want to work on doing this analysis, and I want to make a page, and I'm good at doing this. So all those sort of, you have to figure out what you're good at, what your skills are, right? And it takes time. I don't think on day one you would know what you should be doing. And again, I don't think anyone expects to have a career these days in one particular field for years to come, right? I mean, things are changing so quickly that it's really impractical to expect that I would be doing the same work in 10 years time. So it's difficult these days. And with AI, I don't even know how it's all going to even shape up. So yeah, you have to be nimble, you have to be adaptable, you have to see what you like, and then, yeah, take it from there.
Okay, that's actually very good insights I got from both of you. So basically, I just wanted to compare, like, let's say right now coding is getting integrated into finance a lot. So, what kind of like coding AI agents and stuff like that, which you would like the students of this age should learn, like languages like C, C++, or even Python, or let's say R for statistical modeling. So, what are some of the basic skills that they should be learning in these?
Uh, okay, I take this one first. So obviously, having a good understanding of Python helps, because I think it's a foundation of a lot of these LLM models as well. They work with Python quite integrally. That being said, a lot of the trading systems and everything is still built in C++, basically, because of how efficient those languages are. But again, with AI now, what I feel like, the importance of knowing every other language has gone away. Like, it can practically do all the coding you want. But what's really still important is what you want it to do, right? And what are the foundations of object-oriented programming? All these things are still, I think, useful to understand. How can I build a very nimble sort of model, basic, or like, and not waste resources on something which I have to. I mean, those questions are very valid. Now obviously, R, Python, all these are tools to achieve, you know ends to different tasks you want to do, basically. And some softwares or some tools can be good for something, but I really at this point feel like the importance of knowing a particular language in coding has gone really, I think the importance of that has really gone low. So it's, there's no limit. Like, if I want to learn making Power BI dashboards, I can, yeah, do it basically on a weekend if I have to, right? It's just, it's not like Power BI dashboards are not useful. They are. I think you should know it, how to make good visualizations if you want to tell a story to somebody. um, but yeah, with AI, the opportunities are infinite in that sense. So it's not a limiting factor anymore.
I think agreed with Deepak. I think The opportunities are infinite. You should know Python, is what I feel. But at the same time, I think judgment skills are becoming more and more important. Okay. I mean, with AI, you can do practically everything, but what prompt to give to AI is becoming suddenly more important. So I think you should focus more on having that judgment. And that takes time. It cannot come overnight. So
Mhm.
instead of maybe learning hard skills, I think soft skills are going to be very important in the coming days.
Okay, so now let's just get the conversation back to the students in the room. So I just basic thing which you would like to advise our students is, what is one common mistakes that engineers make while they're trying to pivot from the field of, let's say, core engineering, like let's say chemical technology, to somewhere like somewhere like one of your fields itself. What is that one mistake which they should be avoiding in this scenario?
Um, I think maybe I can go first, and then Deepak, you can add from your experience. So I think for me, uh, understanding the fact that things are going to be very ambiguous, which may not be very true in the field of engineering. So in engineering, I think you can do X to Y mapping, but in other fields, I think it's very difficult. So having that mindset shift, knowing that okay, you may not have the correct or right answer to everything, accepting that fact, I think that is one sort of mindset shift you should be ready for. Deepak, you can add.
Yeah, and to add to that, I would definitely very valid point there, Shivam. And to add to it, right, like the answer when you do an engineering degree, the story doesn't end at the answer, right? The story actually starts at how can I explain to somebody or to someone, then how did I actually get here, and then what impact does it have for the future. So don't stop at the answer. You might know the answer, but learn how to explain it to somebody, because it cannot be here, right? It has to come out of in some form, and it has to come out in a way which they can understand as well, because not everyone will be thinking like you as an engineer. You have to deal with people who can't understand the numbers the way you do as an engineer, right? So it's very important to learn that art, and it takes patience as well at times, which I think is good that you learn at an early age, because when you're dealing with people at work, you come across all kinds of individuals, and you need to respect the fact that they come from different places and they might have a different way of assimilating information, and as engineers we obviously have a strong foundation in certain things, but we need to get better at making sure others understand our viewpoint.
Okay, sure. So this question which I'm asking right now is a little bit directed towards Shivam. So because he more recently graduated. So while preparing for internships, like what should a student mostly focus on while, if they're getting into field of into internships which are finance related?
um I think what I felt during my interview process was that recruiters value your curiosity, and at least in the initial few rounds. And I mean, so you should be very curious. You should have detailed understanding of at least couple of sectors in detail. You should try to know the why behind things. Should not just stop at what. So, and some basic skill sets, finance, you should know. I think yeah, these are I think should be able to make it to a good internship. And especially I think we sort of underestimate the Bits brand. But I mean, with the brand of Bits, be it any campus, I think that gives you certain advantage over others. um, so yeah, you are a natural pick for recruiters, but then you need to justify some of these points that I mentioned in the process. So yeah, that was sort of my process.
Okay, and Deepak, I would like to process the same question to you, but if let's say you were a recruiter, what would you look into, like a child who's just applying for his first internship ever? with like
Yeah. So
zero knowledge?
yeah, yeah, sure. I mean, I recruit interns on my desk, or my team rather, every two interns every 6 months. Basically, we always have an intern on our team, and the reason we do that is because obviously we want to enable them to learn something new and get work experience out of that. But at the same time, they bring in a new perspective. They bring in the knowledge of the new technologies, which can be useful to us as well. And for example, we an intern just recently started this month, and what I liked about him was that, yeah, as Shivam said, he was curious. He showed to us the propensity to learn. I think, don't get me wrong, but I think the Gen Z, I would have seen with a lot of people is that they're set in their ways too early in their life. Oh, this is what I know, this is what I do. Sorry, I don't want to go anything. I don't care about anything beyond this. If you come across people like that, especially people who are sort of in senior positions, they get put off very easily, like, because that shows a propensity that you don't want to learn anything new. That might not be the case, it just comes out like that, right? And I think it's very important to be curious and to show that, yeah, you're here to learn and obviously add value. I once had an intern who came to me and literally kind of on first day said, oh, whatever you guys do is totally useless. A machine learning can do everything. I was like, okay, great, let me get you a project. 3 months into the project, he was like, sorry, I can't give you the answer of what you asked for. So some people need to be humble as well, and he might be the best AI engineer or machine learning expert, whatever he is capable of. And again, I didn't take it in the wrong way. I wanted to make sure that if he's that confident and he can really do the stuff which we are trying to do, yeah, why not give it a shot? uh, but at the same time, I'm not trying to put off these new technologies and new things, or new ways of working. I think everyone brings in something new and we appreciate that, and that's why we have interns. At the end, that person ended up creating something for us which we still use. So, but that being said, having an open mind is important, and having that curiosity is important. Why we still hired them? Because we could see the potential, but at the same time, yeah, those things can become a hindrance if you're looking to sort of get a full-time offer in that company, and or you, let's say, eventually want to work down the line. So yeah.
Okay, so basically like a curious mind and an open perspective on things, so not getting narrowed down on stuff. Got
Yeah.
it. So basically, post internships now we come to placements. Could you just explain what like a typical finance placement in your respective fields would look like? Like, what are the questions that a recruiter would ask? What are the tasks that they would give? And what pursuit projects should a student personally do in order to get into the field?
I can probably give a more recent sort of perspective
Yeah, a recent perspective.
based on my personal experience. So I think these days, at least finance recruiters, they tend to give full-time offers mostly based on your internship experience. So they tend to come for summer internship, and based on your performance, they sort of give full-time offers. So that has been the modus operandi for a lot of finance companies. But uh, uh, if at all companies are coming for final placements, they really value your uh, internship experience. So if you have a relevant experience, that always adds a lot of value. Internship experience, then type of projects that you have uh, done in your MBA, that also helps a lot, especially if it's a relevant project. And in MBA, you tend to participate in a lot of case competitions as well. So if again those are relevant, then uh, then that's a good sort of talking point. And I think whatever you have written in your CV or resume, you should be very thorough about that. You should not try to bluff, because recruiters are very smart. I mean, they are very experienced professionals. They can quickly scan through it, and they can sort of. So basically, my point is, whatever you have written in your CV, you should know each and everything about it, and you should proudly defend whatever you have written in the page, right? And then you should have a lot of talking points. You should not just speak about, I mean, you should have again, as I said, you should have opinions about it, what you liked, what you did not like, and then yeah, and sometimes I think, at least in private equity or in investment banking, there sometimes is a case round as well, where you need to do some sort of modeling exercise, but that is very specific to investment banking or private equity. uh, so yes,
Yeah.
this is the overall thing.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I think on to add to that, right? I mean, uh, obviously knowing everything on your CV is important. Don't put anything which you don't know. That I think is a key rule of thumb, as they say. But for me also, like if you're specifically looking to work in financial markets, or if I talk about like probably from my experiences of those interviews as well, yeah, it's important to be authentic, right? Like I knew what I was talking about, and they can easily sense that. Like if they get a sense of, yeah, this guy is just waffling basically, yeah, that's done. Like they won't even listen to you after that. So it's important to really be, if you don't know something, just say, yeah, I don't know about it, I haven't given you can obviously say, I can give it a thought now and I can see. It's critically thinking something on the ground can be useful, because you in case interviews, or even sometimes you come across questions which you would not expect in a. Yeah, I remember like one of my case interviews was like, okay, can you help me estimate how many grand pianos are sold in this country, right? Or like, or what's the weight of a Air 747? Those sort of questions I have had in the interviews. These are my interview questions for internships and jobs uh, as well. So these things that happen. So you need to be able to critically think through these things. Be ready for anything. That's what I say to people. I've also been in situations where you have a good cop, bad cop situation going on, right? Like really, they stress test you, and it's not a joke. It happens. Like it has happened to me as well. And you need to stand your ground. They want to see, can you defend yourself? Can you really? And again, it comes down to the same thing. Do you know what you're saying? So they would stress test you, put facts on you, which might be completely wrong, and they would expect you to defend what you know. So, and again, another thing which I always like to tell to people is, don't get disappointed if something doesn't work out as well. I think careers are quite long, and there are enough opportunities you will get as well to if you really are passionate about something, you would eventually end up opportunities to get to do that. Like for example, when we were in IIM, I don't know how it was, Shivam, back then when you passed out, like yeah, we had very intense recruitment days, and people would not end up getting the jobs which they want, but a couple of years down the line they're probably working for those companies, and doing very well. So if you really want to do something, opportunities will come. So don't get disappointed if something doesn't work out as well, and keep working towards it.
And maybe just to add to Deepak's point, I think a lot of people land their dream jobs at campus just to realize 6 months later that it
Yeah,
was not there.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very true. And I can tell you, my own, with all my personal experience, 6 months into my job, it was very difficult. I think I've had very difficult bosses. That was my first job, actually. I hadn't worked anywhere, and that too, it was in Hong Kong. I, After 6 months, I really had to reassess. Have I done a mistake? Am I at the wrong place? I really had to reassess a lot of things. It was tough, but then I had passion for it, and that kept me there. I think a lot of people would sort of say, okay, if you're not passionate about these things, they would be like, sorry, I'm done. I would rather do something else. So yeah, it's important to really, yeah, evaluate these things as well, and yeah, as I said, nowadays having a career for your entire life is like the same job for your entire life is practically impossible. So it's always, there is always room for trying something new.
Okay, that's interesting. And like, I just had this question, one question for Deepak. As you have done CFA and MBA both, which do you think has contributed to your finance journey more?
Yeah, I mean, on that one, it's quick, right? Like for MBA, as I said, like when we are doing our MBAs in IIM, it's not all finance focused. You do end up learning a lot of the things there, which are from different parts of the business as well, because it's supposed to be a general management degree. So a CFA helps you bridge some of the knowledge gap. Like it really helps you understand some of the things in nitty gritty. Also, CFA as a program is designed in a way that it helps you understand the newer things which are happening in the industry as well. So yeah, it brings it all together quite nicely. So yeah, I would definitely recommend a CFA to people who want to work in, let's say, investment banking, private equity, or even on the trading floors, just to have that professional accreditation. And also, it helps you bridge the knowledge gaps as well, which sometimes an MBA can't. So yeah.
Okay, so finally, I just want to ask you, like, if our students, if they want to, like, some practices like, resources, books, or even movies that you would recommend them to watch to actually get started on their finance career. So this would be like one of the last questions.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I'll take it first. Like for me, and I think we brought it up before as well. Reading quite a lot is key. Like as I said, I did start my day with the podcast. I read a lot of Financial Times. I read a lot of stuff on Reuters, Bloomberg, all these sort of different financial um, sort of news outlets which are there. These days with the AI tools, I've also automated a lot of these things. So I would probably go to 20 different sources to gather my day-to-day information nowadays. Or I've built agents which can sort of help get all this information in the way you want, right? Like so you can try things like that as well, just to help you get used to getting information in a way which you like. um, yeah, in terms of books, yeah, I personally, there's no one single book which I consider as like obviously there are people out there who will consider the Intelligent Investor from Benjamin Graham as like like the book on valuations, or learning about investing in markets. So it's always a good read. I personally am a big fan of reading Ruchir Sharma's books. I'm not sure if anyone has ever read it. He runs his own fund nowadays, but he writes very good books around macro economic situations in emerging economies. So if you're somebody who's really wants to understand how emerging markets work and how really the different world functions, I think it's really interesting. Some of his books are quite interesting. Um, and also one thing which I always, as I said, tell to people is just, yeah, whatever you read in the newspaper, try to critically analyze it. I think that's and build your opinions, as Shivam also mentioned earlier. Important to have opinions, though they might be wrong at first, but I think it's always good to have opinions. Yeah.
I think very, very similar thoughts, and I think you should read a lot. Start with newspapers. I think over time you'll also realize that okay, you are liking, say, a couple of industries more than the rest of them. So try to go
Mm.
deep into that. For example, for me it was fintech when I started my reading journey. Okay, so maybe that. And also because of with the help of AI, you can also ask AI to simplify a lot of things for you, a lot of jargons for you, which was not the case earlier. So you can take a lot of advantage of that. And also sometimes going, I mean, for podcasts, YouTube videos, they also help a lot, especially with YouTube videos. There's a face to the name, right? So I mean, I mean, when suppose a founder is talking about his business, he's obviously going to be more passionate. So just reading it passively versus hearing it firsthand from his experience, that's a different sort of experience overall. So try to use technology to your advantage, and yeah, read a lot.
Yeah. And just to add, like I'm not sure if you guys have seen it, but there is a movie called The Big Short, um, from the which was based on the financial crisis. It's an interesting watch. I've always like to watch it because it's also a comedy as well, and it's very relevant to the times when I started my journey. So yeah, and being on the trading floor, I could relate to also some of the things which they show in the movie. So it's always funny that way. It's also always good to know what are the mistakes some of the people did in the industry. So there are books around to read about all these Ponzi schemes which people ran, or accounting frauds, or illegal, not illegal, or how should I call it, the traders who lost like banks billions and billions of dollars by doing funny businesses. I think those are a good reads on what not to do if you ever join the profession. And yeah, it's always good learning.
Okay, those are some very interesting resources, and Big Shot, of course. That's one of my favorite movies there. So yeah, right now I would like to open the floor to some questions. If any of our attendees would like to ask anything. Oh yeah,
Okay.
so question in the chat. So Akrama has asked that how will finance turn out to be 10 years later, considering the current AI boom in the industry, and also how can AI be included in finance as a helping hand, a boon, or a bane, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I just quickly on that, right? The as I explained to before, that the world of finance is all about allocating money and resources to the places which need it the most. I think that's how I describe this world of finance. Will that go away? No, right? The money would still need to be moved from point A to point B. There will still be companies which we need to create, you know, yeah, revenues and profitability. So it's not going to go away. Obviously, the way certain jobs are designed and the way you do things is going to change. For example, in trading as well, as I explained, a lot of the trading used to happen manually. You manually enter order into the system and trade. Nowadays, it's all machines, generating orders, trading. uh, Things evolve, right? But that needs a different set of skill set, but it doesn't go away, right? But also to the point earlier we mentioned, yeah, critically analyzing everything and making a story out of what the data is trying to tell you is very key. I don't think that skill AI can do in a very good way. I mean, nowhere close to doing it right now, and I don't think that it would be able to do it in 10 years. I don't know, hard to say, but like you need you they would need somebody out there to get that message across, right? Like, it's not like an AI will generate a report and every CEO and CFO is going to read that. No, not happening. It's really, yeah, you still need to be good at analyzing this information. Yeah, what has really changed is, getting access to information has changed. It's easy now to download all this information from somewhere on the web, which you don't have to go yourself. Yeah, you can have like models built quite quickly. You don't have to be an Excel wizard to do all of that anymore, right? Like, back in the day, yeah, you need to have a very good command on VBA and everything to probably be in a private equity job analyst role. So those things have gone away basically. And but that being said, strong foundations are still key. Knowing what the numbers are telling you is still key, and analyzing that and presenting it is, I think, will still remain important. Shivam, you want to take that one? Yes,
Yeah,
new question. Yeah.
we have got a question from Devansh. He has asked, for what roles in finance are freshers hired for? Like entry level jobs, which I think freshers would really find interesting.
I think, at least in my field, in investment banking and private equity roles, I think companies are very open to hiring engineer freshers who have good pedigree, because and especially with the AI boom, as Deepak was talking about, a lot of mechanical jobs are going to go away probably, but at the same time, judgment based roles where you can really think very critically are going to become more important. For example, I can sort of run a valuation model through some AI, but what inputs should be there? I mean, if I'm saying, okay, the revenue should grow by 5%, that judgment still needs to be, it still has to be a human judgment, right? And then I think critical thinking becomes very important. So wherever I think, so I think, yeah, so coming to the question, I think wherever I think critical thinking skills, engineer sort of roles are required, I think they are very open for hiring engineers. So definitely should give it a try. And I think, in PS2, if I'm not wrong, you get a lot of opportunities in some front office, mid office roles as well, in markets sort of role as well. So definitely try to explore your interest area. And PS2 is actually a very good platform, and bits, which we as an institution, we do a great role with that, because not a lot of engineering institutes sort of offer that. So try to use it to narrow down your sort of career options, so use it to your advantage.
Uh, yeah, I think we have got a question from Vince also. So, yeah, I've always wanted to work internationally in finance. How do you get closer to that goal?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was one of the things I was looking for as well. I couldn't do that with my internship in while my internship at MBA, but I was very clear that that's what I wanted to do, and I wanted to work full time. So is it? It's easier said than done. I think you there needs to be a bit of yeah, you need some opportunities as well, which are willing to give you yeah, sort of that chance, right? Like that, okay, why should they hire you, or rather than somebody in the in the country they are based, right? And it's also a balance of talent and what supply of talent and demand of talent, basically, right? So in the sort of the role where I went, yeah, they believed in hiring from IIMs basically for these sort of entry level roles which they had on the trading floor, because they kind of understood the potential and the pedigree the kids from some of these universities could bring. So that helped, because they understood the value of the brand and the skill set. um, but that being said, if you are particularly interested in working in a particular country, yeah, look for roles. With the fintech, you have so many opportunities, so many interesting roles which come up for engineering students as well, where they might be okay to give an opportunity to somebody from outside the country as well, because they might lack talent specifically. For example, like the yeah, when I moved here into Amsterdam, and I was in Hong Kong before moving here. Yeah, a fintech startup hired me because, yeah, they needed somebody with my expertise. Somebody who has worked in financial markets globally, understood working with some of these yeah, funds, or investment assets, which, like, I had a multi asset experience. They were looking for somebody like that, who they didn't get. So they actually reached out to me on LinkedIn saying that, okay, we have this role, are you interested? So it's also a balance of opportunity and timing, and there's a lot of things which have to go in your favor as well. So it's tough, but yeah, you keep aiming for it and working towards it. um, yeah. Sorry, just to add to it, that question as well, like, having I from my personal experience, I always recommend to students and young graduates as well, who I speak to, that it's good to get an international experience through your studies, or through internship, or even a job when possible. I think it helps you obviously build your CV, but at the same time, it opens you to a lot of different things which you haven't seen probably in life. It changes you as a person, because you learn things which you would never learn being in a country at one place or one city. So that way, I'm blessed to have had that experience and opportunity, and I would certainly recommend people to give it a serious thought.
Yeah, and maybe just to add to Deepak's point, I think at least in finance, what I've observed is that there's a lot of closed door hiring. Open roles are not, they do not come across very openly.
Hmm.
So, I mean, just one very practical advice is try to make sure that your LinkedIn is very updated and you're active there as well. Because it's unlike other fields where jobs are posted online. Sometimes finance, it does not happen in finance. So yeah.
Yeah, no, very well said. Like, I think I also, when I was looking at roles here, I literally went through the website of the city where they had listed, like, oh, the budding fintech startups in the cities. And I literally went to the website of everyone to see who the founder is, reached out to them on LinkedIn, just to have a chat, because sometimes they might not have a job then, but if they know you, and they have something in the future, they would come and reach out to you, but as well. And I think, that's key. Networking is key. specifically if you want to work in a particular place or a particular company, knowing people in that company or place sort of helps. Yeah.
Okay, so he has asked a follow up, which would be, yeah. So basically, international finance expertise and a well updated LinkedIn in conclusion, basically, would be the right call for international exposure in the field of finance.
Yeah, I mean, obviously getting international experience helps. It just, but at the same time, it's not the only way to go about it, right? You can start where where you are, and then eventually make a move laterally in the career as well when the opportunity presents. So it should not be a stumbling block into in your journey in finance. But yeah, at that being said, yeah, always be open towards the goal, and and work towards it.
Okay, so yeah, now as we conclude, we can finally say that there's no one single path into finance. You can get in through direct finance degrees with BS, MS, or even engineering as total. So different finance fields, but all of them have that one same foundation, which is analytical thinking and curiosity, and basically the courage to step out of your engineering comfort zone. So it's basically all the mindset and not exactly your degree. So, Deepak and Shivam, I would like to thank you for sharing your insights and your journey. And I would also like to thank everyone who joined us today. I hope that this discussion was able to expand your horizons about what is possible and what is not. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. It was a pleasure being here. Hopefully, it's useful, and good luck to everyone.